O Keshava, Arjuna is saying, Janardana, Chet Karmanaha Buddhihi Jyayasi. Jyayasi means superior, Shrestha. That O Janardana is Krishna, Keshava also is Krishna. Both are Sambodhana. O Janardana, O Keshava. Two Sambodhanas are there. O Janardana, if the knowledge is superior to activity, action, according to you, that you have been telling like that, in the second chapter you have spoken like that, tat kim karmani ghore mam niyojayasi, O Keshava. Then why are you involving me, putting me into this ghora karma? Ghora karma means the war is a ghora karma. That means it needs the maximum possible involvement. All kinds of agitation, distraction and whatnot. So in the second chapter, Krishna, you have spoken so much about this knowledge. Not only that, he has spoken about a knower. What does it do? Sthita prajnasya ka bhasha samadhisthasya keshava sthitadhih kim prabhasheta. And there Krishna has said that one who withdraws from all the activities, atmaninyeva atmana tushtaha, etc., that he remains absorbed in his self. Vihaya kaman yas sarvan pumams charati nispriha nirmamaha nirahankaraha sashanti madhigacchati. All are about withdrawal. You have been speaking about withdrawal. But I wanted to withdraw and take to begging, bhikshacharya and sannyasa. You refused. You told me, karmani eva adhikaraste. Your fitness, adhikara means fitness, your qualification is only in karma. Why? Because you have meditated on war for the last 13 years, 14 years. How can you think of only contemplating on the one truth or meditating on the truth? If you go to the forest, live on bhikshacharya also, your mind will not leave you. All these 14 years you have been thinking how to defeat Duryodhana. So if you leave the war and go also, you will think of Duryodhana, how to punish him, how to get back. So it is going to absolutely futile. You will lose both the sides. You will not fight the war. You will lose the war. It will create a lot of ill reputation for you and your lineage. At the same time, you will not be able to successful in pursuing the Kevala Jnana Nishtha, exclusive knowledge pursuit. So both way you will be losing. Both sides you will lose. So naturally, he asked him to remain in the actions, but do it with the yoga attitude. Remain in the action, you fight the war, but replacing your mental attitude by the yoga attitude. What is the yoga attitude? That also he has mentioned in the second chapter, 49th verse. We will recite sometimes there. Here he is asking that, Krishna, when you are saying that knowledge is superior to action, why are you asking me to get involved in this tremendous activity of war, not allowing me to pursue the Kevala Jnana Nishtha or the knowledge? Vyamishreneva vakyena buddhim mohayasiva me. See, there is humility in it. He is not saying that you are confusing me, you are deluding me by using ambiguous language. He is saying, Vyamishrena iva. That as if your language, whatever you are using, there is an ambiguity. It is there. Actually, when we go into the second chapter, I can explain how. It is there. Sometimes it will appear like this is what he is asking, unless we are able to understand properly. So he is humble. He is saying that I am not able to understand, grasp what you are saying. It is appearing to me as ambiguous and confusing. Not only that, buddhim mohe asiva me, as if you are confusing me by using such ambiguous language, as if you are confusing. Tat ekam vada nishchitya. Nishchitya means without ambiguity, fixing. Ekam, that one, whatever I am supposed to do, you tell me without any ambiguity, without any confusion, you tell me that yena shreyaha aham apnuyam, by which I will attain the shreyas, the ultimate auspicious goal. you tell me that. Now, coming back to the yoga in 2.49 verse, 49 is it or 48? 14, in my book it is 48. Where the definition of yoga is given. This is the Bhagavad Gita yoga. That what is the attitude with which you have to do the karma. That is the karma yoga of Bhagavad Gita. We will chant this. Yogastha kuru karmani sangam tyaktva dhananjaya siddhya siddhyo samo bhutva samatvam yoga uchyate. See, he has defined here what is yoga. Samatvam yoga uchyate. So there is no doubt about it. Here the yoga is defined as samatva, equality, evenness. And what is that samatva? Siddhya siddhyo samo bhutva. That is, you have to have your evenness of the mind, equalness of the mind in both success and failure. And what do you have to do? Yogastha kuru karmani sangam tyaktva dhananjaya. You have to do all the actions, whatever you are involved in, remaining in yoga. And this is what is the yoga. The equality towards success and failure is yoga. So remaining with that attitude, you have to do all your karma. With that he has added sangam tyaktva. Because sangha is such a thing which will not allow you to have equality towards success and failure. Sangha means a clinging to something. We are always clinging to success. If we cling to success, that after this becomes successful, I will get this, that with that I will do this, and finally I will become happy. This sangha is always to this ultimate result that doing this, whatever we get the result, that will make me happy. That is, I will become happy is the ultimate phala, ultimate result. And clinging to that is the sangha. This we should understand. That result can be anything. Suppose I pass the exam. This is the result for my studies. But it doesn't end there. Why am I getting attached to passing the exam? After that I will get in somewhere, or I will get a job. With that I will get some money. Then I will get married, or I will be able to look after, I will fulfill my desires, etc. And then I will become happy. The last point is always, by doing this I will become happy. Clinging to that carrot of happiness is the sangha. So unless we are able to take away our mind from this clinging, we will never be able to have the evenness towards success and failure. Now this is the yoga attitude. He has explained in various ways, various places. Even the Jajna Bhavana, etc., they are also, everything will lead to it. But here yoga is clearly defined. This is what Bhagavad Gita yoga is. Yoga is this attitude of samatva. Now, when we say about this, speak about this samatva, there is no religiousness involved, there is no spirituality involved in it. So, in managerial discourses, it is taken in very simply that, well, I am equal to success and failure, so that is what Bhagavad Gita says. That even if I fail, I don't bother about it. But it is not that. That is only the initial level of samatva. It takes us to a far, far greater level. In the 6th chapter we will find. See, 31 and 32, let us say from 30, you note from there. Yo mam pashyati sarvatra sarvam cha mai pashyati tasyaham na pranashyami sacha me na pranashyati sarvabhuta sthitam yo mam bhajatyekatvamasthitaha sarvatha vartamanopi sayogi mai vartate atmaupamyena sarvatra samam pashyati yorjuna sukham va yadi va dukkham sayogi paramo mataha. He said that he is a yogi. They defined yoga as samatva. So the ultimate yogi, the supreme yogi is he who sees everywhere like his Atma, equal to his Atma. Atmaupamyena sarvatra samam pashyati. So this Samadarshana is not just I am equal in success and failure. This Samadarshana should take you to that ultimate vision where you find that unfragmented truth that I am everywhere and everything in me. Everywhere I am and everything in me. That is the ultimate Samatva level. So this yoga, although it starts with this kind of a practical interactional sense where everybody can apply, but at one point to have this highest dimension, you have to become a real yogi where spirituality will come in. Otherwise, if you don't know your real identity, what I am, the real Atma, how can you see that Atma everywhere? It is not possible. Jyayasi chet karmanaste mata buddhir janardana tat kim karmani ghore mam niyojayasi keshava vyamishreneva vakyena buddhim mohayasiva me tadekam vada nishchitya yena shreyohamapnuyam. So here the question of Arjuna is that according to whatever Krishna said in the second chapter, he feels that the knowledge is superior to the karma, practicing, pursuing some activities. So he says that if you are saying like that, then rather than instructing me to practice the Kevala Jnana Nishtha or exclusive knowledge pursuit, why are you putting me into this Ghora Karma? Ghora Karma means war. We cannot even think of more involving activity than a war of those days. Also he says, as if by a sort of confusing language, you are deluding my buddhi. But he did not say like that. He said it humbly that to me it is appearing, both Iva is there. This Iva is very important. That to me it appears to be Vyamishrena. It is a confusing language, and to me it as if you are deluding my buddhi. As if you are deluding my buddhi. That means he understands that Krishna is trying to give him clarity, but he is not able to understand what Krishna wants to communicate. He wants further clarity. Tad ekam vada nishchitya. Therefore, you tell me very convincingly, clearly, unambiguously, just one, which is yena shreyoham apnuyam, by which I will attain shreyas. Whether I will attain shreyas by pursuing this war or by leaving the war field and pursuing sannyasa. This is his question. This question will come repeatedly because you will find in the beginning of 5th chapter. He says again, Sannyasam karmanam Krishna Punaryogam cha shamsasi Yachreya etayorekam Tanme bruhi sunishchitam. See, almost the same question repeated again. That means even after 3rd, 4th chapter, the clarity has not dawned. The question remains. What is that? Karmanam sannyasam. One is karmanam sannyasam. That means samyak nyasa of karma. That means leaving all the activities. You have been telling about this and yoga. Yoga means the Bhagavad Gita yoga, that is Samatva yoga, Karma yoga. You are advising on these two. Please tell me yat Shreyaha. See again the Shreyaha word is coming, which will take me to Shreyas. Of these two, which one is Shreyas? Which one is the right path which will take me to the ultimate auspicious goal? Tan me bruhi sunishchitam. You tell me that without any ambiguity, convincingly. So the reply also we will go back again, go over to 5th chapter again. Let us now see how Krishna replies. 3rd chapter, 3rd verse and 4th verse. These two we will chant. Shri Bhagavan Uvacha Lokesmin Dvividha Nishtha Pura Prokta Maya Nagha Jnana Yogena Sankhyanam Karma Yogena Yoginam Na Karmanam Anarambhat Naishkarmyam Purushosnute Nacha Sanyasanadeva Siddhim Samadhigacchati. So there are various words here which we have to go deep into it. He says, Loke asmin loke dividha nishtha pura prokta maya anagha. Maya pura prokta he anagha. He is addressing Arjuna as anagha, means who sinless, pure. That, O Arjuna, ancient time I had spoken about, I have given these two nishtha. Nishtha means dedicated pursuit. That in which when you give it to that, other than that nothing should distract you. That is called the nishtha. He did not say two nishthas, he says dvividha nishtha. That means twofold nishtha. Because they are not different. As you think of the goal of both are the same. That is why it is called, he is saying dvividha nishtha. Nishtha is to the same truth. Nishtha is to the same Shreyas. But to attain that, we can take one marga, one path or the other path. Earlier also in the 2nd chapter, when Arjuna wanted to, 1st chapter he wanted to take to Bhikshacharya, take to beggar, take to sannyasa, then he said that karmanyeva adhikaraste, that your adhikara is in karma. This adhikara means fitness, deserving qualities. That is the meaning of adhikara. In Shastras, this adhikara tattva is very important. Any Shastra is given according to the fitness. If somebody is not fit to receive that knowledge, it may cause even pratyavaya. Pratyavaya means adverse result also. Not only that it will not be beneficial for him, but it can result in adverse effects also. Suppose when some powerful thing is given, one has to judge whether the person to whom I am giving, he is able to use it properly, utilize it properly or so. Suppose an Alzheimer person, if you ask him to use the gas oven, is it right? He may leave it open, any accident may happen. So we will consider his fitness to use the gas oven and then only we will give. Why the nuclear bomb, the key is kept in 2 or 3 places so that suddenly one person will not feel that some agitation in the mind and release the bomb. It can go, and it happened also so many times between US and Russia. It was almost going when it was taken back. So anything can happen like that. In Mahabharata we find that the Brahmastra was the supreme astra, supreme weapon. But it was given with lot of consideration, whether the person has got so much of mental discipline that he is fit to use such an astra. Otherwise, he will release it for various purposes. You know about Ashwatthama, that Drona's son. He was Drona's son, but Drona did not give him the Brahmastra. But somehow he could manage to learn how to release it, but did not know how to take it back. And that is why the calamity took place at the end. He had released it, and Vyasadeva had to come, and Krishna had to come to protect others from the effect of the Brahmastra. This Ashwatthama, he wanted the Sudarshana Chakra of Krishna. So Krishna smiled. Acha, you want it? Go and take it, it is lying there. Ashwatthama went and tried to, he could not even move the Sudarshana Chakra. Then Krishna explained that this is not meant for you. This is meant for a person of tremendous mental discipline who will never misuse this. So only Krishna had that, nobody else had it. Even Arjuna did not have, Drona did not have, only Krishna was fit to have that. So anything, there is a fitness criterion. For Shastras also, what can be given to whom, that depends on the qualities of the person. So there Krishna clearly stated that karmani eva adhikaraha te adhikaraha karmani eva. Your fitness is only to remain active. You cannot take to exclusive jnananishta now. I explained earlier also, for 14 years he has been contemplating on fighting, how to defeat Duryodhana, how to take back the kingdom. So suddenly how can he become? How can he meditate? How can he contemplate on the truth? He will not be able to. His mind will not allow. So he did not have the fitness to pursue the Kevala Jnananishta. But pursuing the karma, Krishna suggested that you cannot do with your own aim, that Rajya Sukha Lobhena, as he said in first chapter, that I am going to kill my own people and my most beloved grandfather and my most respected teacher out of greed for enjoying the sukha of kingship. Not like that. You cannot do that. You will pursue the same war, but for establishing the righteous rule on earth. And knowing that in the process you may even die, there is no question of getting the kingdom in that case. That should not deter you from fighting the war, because you may become fearful of fighting the war. No, you cannot have fear. You are a Kshatriya. Your duty is to establish a proper rule, and for that you are fighting. If you do the same, if you pursue the same war with this change of the mindset, then this war itself is becoming liberational. It will liberate you. Because it will need a great manashuddhi. It will purify your mind by taking away the desires from your mind. And if you can pursue this same action with this attitude, then you will advance towards Shreyas. That is what he has explained. But as it happens that we are not able to understand, repeated instructions are necessary. That is why Arjuna is coming back again and again with the question. He says that, but the second chapter end, you have been only talking about jnana, the knowledge of the truth, the knower, and the grandeur of the knower. Apuryamanam achala pratishtham samudram apaha pravishanti yadvad tadvad kamahayam pravishanti sarve sa shantim apnoti na kamakami. This is the last but one verse of second chapter. He is comparing the knower with the ocean. Apuryamanam achala pratishtham samudram apaha pravishanti yadvad. The sea, so many water, the rivers are coming into the sea. Some are bringing pure water. Some are bringing filthy water from the drains and all. The ocean never says no to anything. Whatever is coming, it accepts and absorbs in it. Not only that, when it comes down to the ocean, whether it is filthy water or the pure water, by the company of the ocean, they all become the same saline water, purified by the salinity of the sea. They become the same water. Similarly, the ocean is allowing the sun to evaporate its water also. Throughout, the sun is shining on the ocean and the water is evaporating. Because of that only the cycle is being completed. The vapor goes up, it is carried by the cloud, then finally snow, it falls in the manner of snow or rain, and then the river is starting. If the ocean had not allowed the vapor to go up, then the river would not come and replenish it also. It is following a natural cycle of sustenance. This is the dharma of the ocean. Like that, the knower, apuryamanam achala pratishtham. Achala pratishtham means there is no destruction, no change at all. He remains stable. Samudram apaha pravishanti yadvat tadvat kamahayam pravishanti sarve sa shanti mapnoti na kama kami. He says like that, the kamaha means whatever the objects and the objective situation one has to enjoy. Nature, generally kama means the desire for looking, we are desirefully looking for them. But in this case, they come to him and they accept everything, whatever comes they accept.